it's an age-old question, I might say, might add, King, and that is that basically the new you is for your real awareness, and you have to, you let these people know that they have 5 bodies they're operating on. So that's like you have 5 cars, okay? And to keep them all running and in tune and what affects them and keep them clean and all this stuff, you see, there's maintenance there. And so now as you become more aware, you become more aware of how to handle these 5 bodies, because you need these 5 bodies as a comparison and a reflection of what isn't real in creation. So yeah, that awareness part does that. So it's not a bunch of hocus pocus. There's a part of you also, and the real guides, they will step up too, to where they will at times fix things in your car, okay? But it's kind of like this, and that is that, let's say your dad gives you a car, and you just drive the heck out of it. Okay, so he fixes it one time. Maybe he'll fix it the second time, because maybe you blew up the engine or something like that, because you just drove it and you redlined it, okay? But then after that, he's going to say, look, you keep doing this, I'm not going to fix it anymore. You figure it out, you see? So this is where, instead of just doing whatever, we start to pay attention to what we are doing. And so the new you is about your real awareness. It's not about getting a job and fixing things and whatever. It's not about hocus pocus. See, people are really referring to Jesus and the psychic miracles he did, manipulating whatever the forces. And then that's where he got all his karma from. He acquired a lot of heavy karma, had to deal with the lords of karma. People don't see that, though. They just look at the pretty stories. When you really look at the real history and the real side and the universal files, you see it's not what it is here. This is all distortion. It's made to look good, so people look for miracles, like people look for God to fix the world. Well, gee, God isn't fixing the world, and the more they pray to God, it gets worse. You see, it's all a sham. It's all a marketing ploy. It's not what it is. Life is better and more real than that. Well, once you do the new you and you become more aware, then you will have the insight and be able to see what's taking place more so with these things. And you can't always fix them. It's like a dent in your car. You can fix it, but it's too much trouble sometimes. So it's like, okay, I'll just leave the dent there. And it's like that too with the body. Sometimes you got a little limp or something, or one of your fingers or your arm hurts. I have aches and pains all the time. I just go with it. I don't try to fix everything and feel great here. But again, each person's different. Some people go to the gym and work out every day. I find that very boring. I'd rather go surfing once in a while, ride my bike. But, everybody has their thing. But it's about your awareness. The new you is about your awareness. That's the best part, to where eventually, when you are aware enough, you can step out of all these bodies completely. But at the same time, like myself, you may not want to. I want to stay here and finish this. And there's a lot to do. And so that's how I see it. But everybody sees it their own way. Most people, they want to just, leave this life and be gone. Well, whatever. But this is where you really learn it and really see more than ever before, because it's so hard here. But again, the new you is about your real awareness, and you decide how aware you want to be. And as you come to a certain point, like the real guides, all of a sudden you see, hey, life is bigger than myself and everything. And for the most part, that's why the boys are here. They want to stay and help others get out. Yeah, get them to a certain point, as many as they can. That's what it's all about now, because the world is dying fast, really fast. And we'll touch a little bit of this with Claudie here, because it's not only on the Earth. Okay, this is galactic, and other aliens and whatever on other planets, which we've been putting out there little by little. And Claudie, I'm going to bring you in here. You can explain a little of this. And as we've taken, I put in the request, to transport people. Just in other words, get them out of the way with what is going on, because for eons they've just caused trouble, which they have. And so a new position is we have stepped up with the people of Iran, the creatures there, or whatever, Iran, because they're reptilian, and they did vote us in to be able to take over as the new leaders, because we had to get rid of the king too. It's very real. Anyone can see it on the real side. And there's more going on with this. And Claudia and I are going to do another episode 3, and talk about this a little bit. Now, for most people, they may not see it. You've got to go to the real side to see this, but it is filtering down. There are those that are sensing that there is a change out there, but it's very subtle. But still, the mechanics here are going on. Okay, so the idea is that, like Claudia saw, the head of the snake is cut off, but the body's still wiggling around. And that's all the situations that are going on here. So this implies the new you in that, yes, it's about your awareness so that you're more apt to handle yourself and survive here in creation as you're becoming more aware, because you must have this. Just like boot camp, like Chris went through, etc. You must go through it so that you're able to handle yourself with the whole of life, because it's huge. Or you don't. You can pretend that, no, there's no such thing. I'll just go back to my personal life and whatever. Go back to sleep and stay one-dimensional. Choice. It's a choice that each person makes. But a step at a time, we're moving along on a bigger scale here, bigger position, simply because it's not only the bankers and the governments here, they are puppets of the original invaders, and it goes into Orion and other planets and systems, and Claudia knows many of these things very well. So if you want to give a little overview here, Claudia.
Yes, sir. First, a lot of times the information that is on the internet is conflicting. So you hear 2 different, maybe 3 or 4 different stories about what's going on. And for myself, yes, I do a new use session before I inquire as to what is the real side story, because I want to know what the all is wants done in this situation. Like, I'll have a question. What can we do to help Earth right now with the reptilian occupation? The reptilians are here real simple for their own benefit. They have an agenda. They do not look upon us as sentient or equal creatures to them. And yes, they are thousands of years ahead of us in technology and understanding of biology and how to manipulate our genetic background. When they first came here, they were looking for gold, because they need that to clean the atmosphere on their home planet that is very polluted. They were also looking for slaves or workers, and they were looking for food. Basically, what they did was they found the smartest monkey on this planet. They changed the DNA in that monkey by adding their own DNA to the gene sequence. They increased our intelligence so we could operate mining equipment. And because we had such a short lifetime, under 150 years at the time, they upgraded our reproductive capabilities. So new slaves would be born and continually supply the reptilians with a workforce. The home planet had its own problems to deal with. It was in a war that was more than 1,000 years in progress going on at the same time. The Queen of Orion wanted to win the war. The population in the Orion Empire exceeded 24 quadrillion peoples or subjects. The war with the Sirius peoples, they were only 12 quadrillion, but that's a lot of creatures. They all had their own agenda. The Sirius persons wanted to win over the Orion people. The Orion people wanted to win over the Sirius people. But it's in war, all of us have a different viewpoint of what a win is. To briefly give an overview is to say Earth was not an important asset for them. It was just a commodity. They wanted us for, again, gold, minerals, slaves, workers, and also to eat us as a food product. It's horrible to understand that they don't mind eating alive human beings, especially children and babies. They don't consider us any more than we consider cows our cattle. We're just cattle to them, not someone you would talk to. You don't go out and talk to a cow and say, well, what are your thoughts on the political agenda today? It isn't going to work. The Orion people speak a different language than we do because of their physical makeup. And not to embarrass anyone, but they speak on a physical level. They transmit information in a nanosecond. They understand so much more than we are capable of. So that's kind of the whole problem in a nutshell of what we are dealing with. On top of what we have here, the reptilian situation, we humans have to face ourselves in our own agenda. We have to grow up. And when you look at it from the top down, grow up and do what? Grow up and become more hateful, mean, vindictive, or grow up and become more helpful and appreciate the nature and the planet that has been given to us. But we are thwarted in that effort because the reptilians don't wish us to evolve into a better species. They want us to keep stupid and mesmerized or hypnotized or put down. So they keep us under a constant surveillance. They keep us distracted with war and other activities. Even a soccer game is an activity that is just distracting to us, is that we all focus on that one thing and forget about our duties to ourselves and our planet, our families. All of these things have to come into account, but they're easily forgotten when you're in an important soccer game that many people are watching. And of course, this is a source of loosh or food for the reptilians. They are outside the frequency of our eyesight and our hearing. So we can't see or hear them, but they're there and they're collecting.
She asked this question. She says, a new friend in the U.S. wrote to me, said on Facebook that she had been doing the new friend, the new song for 6 months and had not seen the real guides, and then wonders if the real guides are a figment of the imagination, or is it that only special people have the ability or the gift to contact the real guides? So this new friend seems to have been perplexed that after 6 months of doing the new song, he or she could not contact the real guides. So I don't know whether Duane can say anything about this.
That is another old question that people have, and it's understandable. Again, everything is recognition. When you take, and everybody is at, you might say, their own level of understanding and awareness. And just like a child that you are raising, let's say in the second or third grade, you can tell the child about the college and the information and your degree and how you've learned your trade and your career and your profession. But is that child going to understand and be able to see that? They can hear what you're saying. In other words, as the person is doing the new you, the real guides are there. It's an isness. This is what's so cool about the isness. Is when we get out of our literal self, when we stop catering to our literal self, but that takes a while for people to see that, they'll learn to see the difference between ideas and the reality of life is. Okay, so most people work through ideas, but she's already seen the real guides. She's just not recognizing them. That's the difference. And so it's like this. Imagine yourself as a young child coming into this world and looking up at your parents. Now, the view is a particular, isn't it? Does that young child looking up at their parents, see their parents as they are? Or do they see whatever they see? Again, what are they seeing? And as they grow up, then the clarity of the image and what is taking place becomes clearer and clearer as they grow up. It's like that. And the same thing is that we have all these ideas about things, and yes, we have pictures of the guides and whatever, and I see them appearing in so many different ways, and then to some people they appear right on. It just depends how the individual can recognize them and what's going on. But for the most part, and many times, and I've seen this to where they will appear a particular way to demonstrate something. So they will not always appear as themselves, but they're actually demonstrating something. Now I'm going to give you an example. I could give several here, but I'll give this one first. It's a very good one. We had a very close friend pass away, translate, we'll just say months and months ago. And I knew this person for many years. And I was talking with him on the real side. We were like just sitting at a table. And the night before, he left. And right back at me, and I knew it was Rebazar, and his head was kind of to the right of me. It's like I was in a booth with this other fella, and like Rebazar was in the booth and back of me to the right. And he appeared as Rod Serling. Okay, Rod Serling created the Twilight Zone in the 60s, black and white. Became very popular and famous, Rod Serling. Well, Rebazar was appearing as Rod Serling. I knew it was Rebazar. I recognized him, but he was appearing, he looked like Rod Serling. He didn't look exactly like Rod Serling. He kind of looked half and half Rebazar, half Rod Serling. But what he was doing is he was demonstrating what was taking place here. In other words, this individual that I knew, he did not really accomplish what he came here to do. And he was really rather in his own la-la land, thinking this or that accordingly, because he was with a very well-to-do worldwide family. But and I had talks with this individual many times, but he had rather some arrogance that he just wouldn't listen. So then he gave up. He actually wanted to leave the world because his wife was in certain conditions. And so he just gave up. It was almost a suicidal thing. But anyhow, that's not important. But anyhow, so the next scene is I see Rebazar with his arm around this fella, taking him off into wherever. The idea here is that even though this individual knew about the real guides and whatever, and constantly said, I'm with them and I want to go to the real universes and whatever. This was his desire. But he didn't have the awareness to do that, nor did he earn his way. And so where he ended up was in kind of a twilight zone, you see. And so, again, this is how it takes place. And I'm going to go a little further on this story. I'm not going to mention who it is. It's not important because many people go through this. And it wasn't that he went to a weird place or a twilight zone, but it was where the individual does not know where they're at or what's going on. And so now when he passed over, we saw him there. And basically, Claudia and I, we went through a lot of this because it also deals with what we're doing here for the world. We went over this and we watched this, and as this person actually shrank backwards because it just came to a point where this person could do nothing with themselves, so it was actually better, and now they will be reincarnating. Saw them shrink and shrink and shrink. Into where they, just like in the movie 2001, in the end, where you see the star child coming in a bubble. Well, that's the basic idea. Coming back again and to have another chance at it. So what I'm saying here is that Rebazar was demonstrating what was taking place. And the very next day, I heard from his associates, and they said, such and such is on ice. And I thought that's an interesting phrase that they're using. And it was the very next day. I saw him the day before that night, discussing with him on the real side. And I had other discussions with him afterwards, but he was rather lost and confused. In other words, the twilight zone that was demonstrated was his own twilight zone. Everybody's in their own zone. Everybody's in their own intent. And so what that is it's a roundabout way, Charles, but what it is that, yes, the individual is having experiences with the real guides. They're trying to say, hey, this or that, just like we are to the world. We're trying to say, hey, we're here to show you how to make sense of things, but are they listening? No, they don't see us. They don't hear us. And so it's like that too. So the new you, it's real. It's very real, but it's, the individual has to pay attention. And lots of times, for the most part, most people have beliefs, ideas. They're still looking to God, Jesus, or some master or whatever. That's in the way. And also, if they're still tap-lined with these individuals, those individuals on the real side are going to try and block things. And so the boys, they step back from free will. They do not force their way into anything. So if a person within themselves and their intent is more so of a particular, they do not interfere. They can only do such and such. They do not force their will upon anything. It's not to where they make changes in a person. A person has to be willing to wake up and see it. So yes, you're going to have these incidences. And really a closer examination with the person, you'll see all of a sudden, and they may not admit it or want to admit it. See, this is where people just think, okay, I'll do the new you, and I'll get a new job, I'll make money, and everything will be great, and Rebazar will show up, and he'll take me flying and whatever. Well, again, it's not going to always happen like that, simply because they don't have the awareness to even recognize anything close to that. You can't just pop into a plane and fly it. It takes a lot to come around to the point where you are able to fly it. And the same with this reality. These are big pictures. Plus, most people have so many things that they have carried from past lives and this present life that are in the way. They just think, again, it's the Jesus idea. People think it's just it's going to be a miracle. It's just going to miraculously happen. No, it's according to your awareness, the awareness you have, which is the real you, and the created consciousness of the personal self. Consciousness is not the ultimate. It is something created in creation. This is what people do not recognize either. They have to learn to recognize their created consciousness and get through that first. It is a whole lot. It is not just, you'll sit down and you'll do a few new yous and all of a sudden the light in the sky opens up, etc. again, there's a whole lot more to it. So, each individual, they really have to take the risk to see more, and many people won't. They will hold on. They'll be on the fence, and they'll just kind of hold on to what they've had before. And so, but the real guides are there. They really are. They will just come in many different ways. And so the physical pictures and imagery they are, etc., the boys will appear like that for, if it's to be so, you see. But for the most part, you know why they won't? Because people start worshiping them, start adoring them, start to get funny with them. They get over emotional and things like this. The boys know. They can see the individual, so they come roundabout is what they do, because they're not interested in that, and that becomes a distortion. And we see the distortion here. And again, we're going to pick on the corporation and anything here. This is why Joni marketed Harold's picture, because it's to get people attached to that picture, that image, so they could control them. And so we don't do that here. We give an idea, but it's on the real side. And many people have even hunted down Rebazar in the Himalayas and whatever, and they've actually come face to face with him. And he tells them, find me on the real side, because this physical part is a little bit funny. So getting back to what you were saying there and asking, Charles, yeah, the individual needs to look at themselves and how they are seeing this and what they're expecting. In other words, what's the idea? Instead of deciding what life is and what should be, let life show you. Let go. Let go of all the ideas you've ever had, everything, because it's an isness. It will support you. Let go and see what happens. So, again, I don't know the situation, but hear this all the time. But the reality of life is an isness, like the sun shining. But how many people look up at the sun? How many people go outside and go, wow, look at the sun up there. It's awesome. How many people do that? Just about nobody. You see, they don't recognize what the sun is demonstrating, not even close, and it's right in front of them. So when the boys are right in front of them, they don't recognize them because they have all these ideas in themselves about what life is, or the guides, or what have you. They have all these ideas in the way, so they don't really see it clearly. So they're thinking that, oh, he's not there. You see.